What's going on YouTube? Kamikazevondoom here with some breaking news regarding the Division 2. So sit back, relax, grab that popcorn, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what you think in the comments section below. But all of this information and more is on my Twitter page, X if you nasty. So follow me over here on Twitter, at Kamikazevondoom, for anything Division related before I make a YouTube video. So again, I share all of this information before I make the video. So the developers gave us a lot. They gave us an article and they gave us 2 sets of patch notes. So this is going to be a long one, but after this video, you will be set for tomorrow. Now, I do want to shout out everybody that won this bundle. This is the Laughing Gas bundle that comes out tomorrow. And we did a giveaway during today's live stream. So again, shout out to all of you for that support. And shout out to the winners. Thank you all, and I hope you enjoy that bundle that comes out tomorrow. Now, for everyone else, it will be available for purchase tomorrow. Now, as far as the article, this is what the developer said. So they just tweeted this out not too long ago, and it says, "A little downtime for a big update. Year 6 Season 2 Shades of Red will launch tomorrow, October 9th. Servers will be offline for 3 hours, starting at 04:30 Eastern, and estimated to end at 07:30 Eastern. Again, that is estimated. Sometimes the update comes out a little bit sooner. Sometimes the update gets delayed. Who knows? But it says read all the details here. So we have an article to go to, okay? So here is the Ubisoft article for tomorrow's update. And again, this is Year 6 Season 2 Shades of Red, and it is focused on Theo Parnell. All right, and here we go. Year 6 Season 2 Shades of Red is marking the start of a new seasonal journey. With Aaron Keener in custody at the White House, he aims to strike a deal with the Division. But before the agents can learn what he knows, they have to secure the other members of Keener's team, being Theo Parnell. Brew that Kerman coffee, grab a seat, and let's dive into everything Season 2 has in store. Now, just so you know, we will be talking about the new seasonal journey, new seasonal modifiers, the new priority objectives, new Manhunt Scouts, new gear, weapons, and talents, new reworks and updates, the new friend referral, the new season pass, and finally a new one-time offer. This is going to be in their article. Now, as far as the patch notes, we have 2 sets of balancing patch notes that are all brand new, and they said it is altered from the PTS. So I hope you are comfortable because there is a lot of information in this video. Starting with the new seasonal journey. That's a sick image here. So the seasonal journey, there will be different journey missions. I believe last time I looked, there were 7 journey missions. In each of the journey missions, you will have 8 different tasks. I did this throughout the PTS, and I showed everybody throughout the PTS. You only have to complete 6 out of the 8. So it says right there, 6 required to complete. And then you can move on to the next seasonal journey. So again, that is the new way of doing that. And let's see how they put it into words. It says, the new seasonal journey introduces a structured progression system with 7 sequential missions, each containing 8 objectives. It is designed to guide players through the early stages of each season, offering a mix of challenges and goals that introduce key mechanics. Available from level 1, even new players can jump right in and do the seasonal journey. The entire seasonal journey unlocks at the start of each season, and as you complete each mission and objective, you'll earn various rewards, including XP, seasonal XP, progression boosting items, resources, and active modifiers. Completing the entire journey will grant you a unique cosmetic item. And I believe that was the mask that we were trying to get during the PTS. So there will be 7 missions, 7 journey missions. Each of them will have 8 different objectives, and you only have to complete 6 out of the 8 to move on to the next. After you finish journey mission 7, you will then get the new mask. Next up, we have seasonal modifiers. I tested this throughout the PTS, and it's all based off of range, okay? So the new seasonal modifier is based off of range. And this is a cool image for that. Really cool. And here we go. So the seasonal modifiers. The seasonal modifiers are central to each season's unique gameplay, spicing up the usual rules and mechanics of the game. There are 4 distinct types of modifiers, each playing a crucial role. So you have global modifiers, active modifiers, passive modifiers, and finally, hostile modifiers. So the global modifier, that is the modifier that is active no matter what for every single player for the entire season. Think of the global modifier as like a Division 1 old school global event, where it's always active no matter what. That's what this global modifier is. It's always active. Now, yes, you can turn it off if you want, but then you will not be able to do anything with the modifiers if you just turn it off. They did make that available, but for everyone else, when you just turn on the season, you will have the modifiers enabled and active as soon as you start the game. Now, it says right here, the global modifier, it is set the overall theme of each season. So it will be active throughout the entire season, and it sets a different theme. This theme for the current season that starts tomorrow will be based off of range. And it says that these are active at all times while the system is enabled, affecting the core gameplay loop. This season, the theme is range, and the global modifier is called point blank. That grants a damage bonus based off of your distance from the enemy. Now, the active and passive modifiers are both for the player, okay? Now, the active modifier you will only be able to get through the seasonal journey, and the passive modifiers you will only be able to get through the priority objectives, okay? Now, the active modifier, you can only equip 1 at a time, and then the passive modifiers, I believe you can equip 2 or 3 at a time. And what these do is these change your overall modifier damage bonuses. So you might have a active modifier that says it flips everything. So the damages will all flip based off of their distances. And then you could have like a passive modifier that says, you know, amplifies short range damage, something like that, or amplifies headshot damages at long range. And that's basically how this entire season is going to go. It's all based off of ranges. You have short range, medium range, and long range. So say the season starts out and the modifiers are 1.2 for short, 1.5 for medium, and 2.0 for long. And then all of a sudden you have an active modifier that flips it. It would then be 2.0 for short, 1.5, you know, something like that. So it says here, the active modifiers, they function like ultimate abilities, giving your character a short burst of power. Players can choose from a selection of active modifiers, but only one can be equipped at a time. This season, they manipulate the range zones set by the global modifier. And that's the example I was just giving you. Like it might flip the range zones, and then your damages would be different. Now, the passive modifiers, like I said, that will focus in on a specific range. So, you know, more medium range damage, more short range damage, more long range damage, whatever. This is where all of those build videos are really going to come into play, because then you could have a certain passive modifier that amplifies all your damage. So they say right here, passive modifiers will work in conjunction with the global modifier, adding more, you know, extra bonuses. Players can equip up to 3 passive modifiers at the same time. So you could have more headshot damage short range, more damage short range, and more, accuracy during short range, something like that. And it says right here, in the first season, these modifiers provide additional benefits based on the range zones of the global modifier. And you can, hopefully now you know exactly how those modifiers work. Now, here's the downside to it. We now have hostile modifiers. Hostile modifiers represent how the enemies will adapt to your new abilities. As the players progress through the seasons, the enemies will gradually gain new abilities linked to that specific enemy type, forcing you to use the global passive and active modifiers strategically to counter them. And then again, it says right here, the modifier system can be disabled at any time, so you do not have to use the modifiers if you do not want to. And it's mutually exclusive with global events, allowing players to control how they engage with the seasonal challenges. Pretty cool, right? But again, if you don't want to use the modifiers, you can just turn it off. Next up, we have priority objectives. The priority objectives system offers a variety of short-term objectives to enhance the way players can farm for items and resources in the game. The priority objectives system will become available upon reaching level 30. The priority objectives, remember, during the PTS, that was how we were able to get the passive modifiers. And actually, it was the only way to get passive modifiers. It says right here that the players can choose from 3 objectives, selecting one based on a limited information such as duration, reward category, and mission type. Once the selection is made, it is locked in, and the details of that objective and rewards will be revealed. If none of the objectives appeal to the player, the system allows you to re-roll those objectives, or you can click the Abandon Objective feature. However, you can only abandon an objective once every hour, and you can only do re-rolls when you unlock them. So here's how it goes. You will have 3 selections. It'll be like open world, PvP, or mission, which means you either have to do an open world activity, a PvP objective, or a mission, right? So you click on the open world. You're like, okay, let's do open world. But then it says, propaganda broadcast, and you really hate propaganda broadcast. So you can abandon it, and then it'll give you 3 new choices, and then you can go from there. However, to earn the rerolls, what I learned is that you have to keep completing the objectives. So say you complete, 5 objectives in a row, you'll get a reroll. Now that reroll is a free reroll where if you don't like the 3 selections, you can just change them. But once you run out of those rerolls, you have to earn them again. All right. So that's how that works. It's nice, but again, it's the only way to get the passive modifiers. So you have to do these priority objectives. And finally, it says here that there are no limits to the number of priority objectives you can complete, and the rewards will be either XP, seasonal XP, items, resources, and passive modifiers. Again, that's the only way to get those. Next up, we have Manhunt Scouts. And this is an updated image of Theo Parnell. Manhunt Scouts. Remember, this is the new revamped version of the Manhunts. It's not going to be a monthly thing anymore. It is now going to be a weekly thing. So it says Manhunt Scouts is a new system that drives the game's narrative by requiring players to complete weekly activities that reward them with equipment, XP, materials, and most importantly, new collectibles. I believe when I was doing the weekly scouts, it was like 3 or 4 new collectibles for every week. And that's why I was thinking that the descent comms would be gone, but they also said we're going to get new weekly descent comms as well. So there's going to be a lot more to the lore and story. It says here for the Manhunt Scouts, each week players can tackle a scout which consists of 3 different activities. These activities will vary, and players must solve a small riddle to complete each one. Activities can be completed or should be completed in order, but once all 3 are finished, players will receive the Scout reward. So remember, it's a riddle, then you have to go complete it. Then a riddle, then you have to go complete it. A riddle, go complete it, and then you're done. This could be open world activities, missions, or like something you have to do in the game, like take out True Sons or something like that. But this will be every single week. So just remember that you will get 3 riddles every week. Once you complete all 3 of them, you'll get all of the Scout rewards. And this is going to be the new way of them doing the manhunt and progressing the story. Moving on, it says once all activities in the Scout are completed, the players will receive a bigger reward, including a unique collectible. However, new Scouts cannot be accessed until the current one is completed. So if you show up to the game in week 6, you have to do the Scouts 1 through 5, and then you can do 6. You can't just jump in and do the last one. You have to do all of the Scouts to unlock the final mission. And it says right here, by the end of the season, completing all Scouts will unlock the Manhunt Climax mission. Finishing that will unlock the Master Climax mission. And so make sure you stay on track each week. So again, you have to do all of the weekly Scouts. Then you have to do the Manhunt Climax mission. And then that will unlock the Master difficulty for the Climax mission. Now that will also give us a new exotic chess piece. Yeah, that was the big surprise today in the live stream, is we have a new exotic chess piece. And which is a great segue because now we're talking about new gear, weapons, and talents. So this season introduces 2 new named weapons and several new talents, along with a new gear set and brand set. Exotic collectors can look forward to a new exotic assault rifle, a new exotic holster, and a new exotic chess piece that is only rewarded for completing the Climax mission. So the only way to get the newest exotic chess piece, you will have to do the Scouts. So this new system, the Seasons 2.0, if I scroll back up here, it's to make you play the entire game. The seasonal journey, the only way to get the seasonal mask is by doing the journey, so you have to play the entire game that way. For the modifiers, the only way to get the passive modifiers is by doing the priority objective, so that's making you play that as well. The Manhunt Scouts are every single week, and you have to do them in order, and the only way to get the new exotic chess piece is by doing those Scouts. So you have to do the seasonal journey, you have to do the priority objectives, and you have to do the new Scouts. Now looking closer to these new exotics, this is the new exotic weapon, the STGA. Now they did change it. It is back to 20 meters, just so everyone knows. So this will be a really good weapon. So it says here, the STGA, exotic AR, and it is a FAL. So this is what it looks like. And it says here that the talent is called Unnerve, killing an enemy. So it should say an enemy, not and enemy. Will mark all other enemies within 20 meters of it. Multiple marks can be applied on the same enemy. So if you have 4 enemies within 20 meters and you kill one, the other 3 have a stack. That stack is 15% amp damage. If you kill the next one, the other 2 remaining will get an additional stack, which means 30% amp damage. You kill the 3rd guy, and that 4th enemy will be stacked again. So then that will be 45% amp damage to that marked enemy. So you can have multiple stacks. If you have 7 enemies within 20 meters, by the time you get to the 7th one, it will be stacked all the, you see what I'm saying here? So this is very good, especially if you are doing close quarters battle. This is a really, really strong weapon because the more kills you get within the 20 meters to those other marked enemies, the more amp damage you're going to get. This is going to be a nice weapon to add to the collection. It says for the weapon mods, it has a plus 20 round mag, plus 5 crit damage muzzle, plus 5 crit chance optics, and plus 10 weapon handling underbarrel. And again, this is what it looks like. It is a exotic FAL called the Strega. Next up, we have the new exotic holster. Here's the look of this one. Centurion's Scabbard. They did say it was changed for PvP, so there is PvP changes here. Now it says at the top, the Centurion's Scabbard. This is the new exotic holster. The talent is called Counter. Swapping weapons will give the following groups of bonuses one by one in order. Now, this is only 2 swaps. So you have your primary and secondary weapon. You swap once to your secondary and then swap back to your primary. So what this does is by the first weapon swap, you get plus 20% rate of fire and plus 20% weapon damage. By the second weapon swap, you now have plus 50% mag size and plus 50% reload speed. The bonuses will remain active for 12 seconds or until the next weapon swap. Swapping to your sidearm will not trigger the bonus, the next group of bonuses. So you can swap to your secondary, and for 12 seconds, you'll have rate of fire and weapon damage. That's really good. And then if you swap back to your primary, you'll have plus 50 mag size and reload speed for your primary weapon for 12 seconds. That's pretty good. Pretty good. For PvP, however, it is cut in half. It's half the rate of fire, half the weapon damage, half the magazine size, but the same reload speed, whatever. And this one's only active for 10 seconds in PvP, so they nerfed, or didn't nerf, but they reworked the PvP version of it severely. Dang, that sucks. I was looking forward to that in PvP, but whatevs. And then finally for the exotics. Whoa. They're not showing the exotic here. Hold on. They just went straight into... Oh, here it is. That's weird. Why would you skip over that? Okay. We'll talk about the brand set and the gear set in a second. But the other exotic, where's it at? Right here. So here's the new exotic chest piece. Receive 30% damage. What? Ooh. Yo, this exotic is going to be a meta. What? All right, so this exotic is called the Provocator, and the talent is called Challenger. You receive 35% damage resistance from enemies within 15 meters. What? Bro, that is ridiculously strong. I want this exotic right now. That's amazing. That is amazing. That's amazing. Ah, man. That forces you to do the climax mission because that's such a good freaking exotic. Wow, dude. Wow, dude. That's going to be a good one. Wow. I can't get over that. That's going to be a very strong chess piece. What? Okay. Gee. Maybe that's why they didn't announce that during the live stream. Holy crap. That's going to be such a good chess piece. I can't even get over that. Okay. Moving on. New gear set. It's called the Virtuoso. The new gear set, 2-piece bonus, weapon handling and mag size. 3-piece bonus will be weapon damage. And then the 4-piece bonus will be a talent called Symphony. So killing an enemy further than 25 meters will provide you with 40% weapon damage to shotguns, SMGs, and pistols. And then 20% weapon damage to ARs and LMGs. And 25% bonus armor for 15 seconds. Killing an enemy within 25 meters will provide you with 40% damage to marksman rifles and rifles, 20% damage to ARs and LMGs, and 30% headshot damage for 15 seconds. Oh, so they made this kind of like in sync. This is essentially in sync. So if you do this, you get these bonuses. If you do that, you get that bonuses. But if you do both, you get both. Okay. See, that makes more sense now. So the talent Symphony is basically in sync based off of your range. Either you're further than 25 meters or you're closer than 25 meters. I would probably play it for the closer than 25 meters because it says killing an enemy within 25 will give you weapon damage to rifles and marksman rifles, which is huge. So you get a kill within 20 meters and then switch to your rifle, which is now fully auto. And then for 15 seconds, you have a fully auto rifle with 40% more damage and headshot. Look at this. And headshot for 15 seconds. That's big. That is big. I like that. The way that it looks now, that's good. Now it says intermittently killing enemies from both ranges will build up a stack, and at 4 stacks, you will have all bonuses multiplied by 1.5% for 15 seconds. I would not be focused on the stacks at all. I would not be focused on that. If you can just have this bonus just for the 15 seconds, I would just focus on this. Because then you could use something like the Ouroboros and then switch to a rifle like, I don't know, the Urban MDR, which will be fully auto starting tomorrow. And then you'll have 40% more weapon damage. That's ridiculous. That's really strong. So that might be something to look at. Not the stacks, though. I would not be focused on the stacks because that forces you to kill an enemy further than 25 and then closer and then further and then closer. That would be very hard to do. Unless you just shoot enemies with an SMG and then switch to like a classic M1A and just try to snipe them. I don't know. Now, the new chest piece and backpack talents for this gear set. You have the chest piece that will double the weapon damage bonuses for Symphony. What? So then that would make that 80% rifle damage? That's... what? Dude. Bruh. Dude. That is a meta. Are you shitting me? That's a meta. Doubles the weapon damage bonuses of Symphony. So that means every time I kill an enemy within 25 meters, I will get 80% weapon damage and 60% headshot? Ugh. Bruh. That's dirty. What's the backpack do? It decreases the number of stacks. I don't care about the stacks. I would not even focus on the stacks. Just focus on the within 25 meters and get 80% rifle damage. Are you kidding me? I'm doing that tomorrow. Then we have a brand set bonus. Or a new brand set, my bad. Legatus. The Legatus brand set, 1 piece will give you swap speed. The 2 piece will give you optimal range. And then the 3 piece will give you weapon damage. The new named backpack is called Vigil and will give you Perfect Versatile. Perfect Versatile is going to be legit. This is going to be really, really good. Okay? So it says Perfect Versatile. It will amplify your total weapon damage for 10 seconds when swapping between your secondary and primary. You can use this with the new exotic holster. It's going to be nice. Swapping shotguns and SMGs, it will be 45% amp damage in PvE, 35% in PvP. Swapping to a rifle or marksman rifle will amplify it by 45% or 35% in PvP. 20% to enemies between 15 and 25 meters. Oh, this should be highlighted, right? So 20% amp damage to LMGs and ARs. And that's it. They didn't change that for PvP. Okay. At most, 1 per 5 seconds. And then we have the new named mask. Here we go. The new named mask is called the Visionario. Visionario? Whatever. And the perfect attribute will give you optimal range. They're really trying to push the optimal range. And here is a look at that new gear set called the Virtuoso. And this is the Virtuoso outfit. Very green. Players can obtain the new gear set through seasonal caches by progressing through the final 3 stages of the seasonal journey, or by exploring the open world. It can also be farmed in targeted loot. Next up, we have our new named weapons and our new weapon talent. So we have a new named Carbine 7 and a new named GR9. The new Carbine 7 will come with the talent Perfect Precision Strike, and killing an enemy further than 20 meters will build up a stack, max of 2. Hitting an enemy within 20 meters will then consume that stack and provide you with 35% amplified damage to all enemies within 20 meters for 5 seconds. So kill 2 enemies long range, and then you go ham close range. Same thing applies for the new named GR9 called the Cricket. Same exact talent and same numbers. And then we have the normal weapon talent, Precision Strike. And instead of it being 35% amp damage, it's only going to be 20. Wow. That's a big drop off. Usually the named variant is only like 5 or 10 off, but 15? Interesting. Following that, we have our new difficulty master. Remember, we have master difficulty for the new climax mission. And it says here that the master climax mission will introduce a brand new difficulty level, exclusively available for that Manhunt climax mission. This level is designed for the most hardcore players seeking an extra challenge. Expect tougher enemies scaled and the inclusion of seasonal modifiers that will push your skills to the limit. To those who rise up to the occasion will be rewarded with special bonuses such as additional XP, high quality loot, resources, in-game currencies, and unique vanity items. Additionally, successfully completing the Master Climax mission will grant players with the exotic chess piece called the Provocator. And again, the Provocator is going to be a meta. You will receive 35% less damage. Come on. To all enemies within 15 meters. That is insane in the membrane. Insane in the brain. I'm going to love that chess piece. Just saying. Step aside, Unbreakable. Step aside, Tardigrade. Hello, Provocator. Now we have reworks and updates. So this is the balancing to Sledgehammer and the Mosquito Song. So Sledgehammer, they are changing it, okay? So previously it was 30% damage to armor. Now it's going to be 20%. So they're dropping it by 10, all right? Now that is for the named variant will be 20, and then the normal variant will be 15. It used to be 30 and 25, so they cut that down by 10, all right? And then for the Mosquito Song, they actually added 25% more damage to armor. So the 10% that you lost here, now you get 25% here. And you can use these together. And it says here for the new Mosquito Song exotic pistol, hitting an enemy will apply a stack. Stacks are shared between players, and at 5 stacks, the enemy will forcefully target that last player and take 25% more damage to armor. Stacks will deplete every 5 seconds, and activating the effect on the enemy will remove all stacks from other players. Very, very strong. The new rifles and marksman rifles that will be now fully automatic. The ACR, fully automatic. UIC 15, the Ravenous, the M1A, the lightweight M4, the LVOAC, the MDR, the Resolute MK47, the MK17, the SIG 716, and the USC. All of these will be fully auto. All of them starting tomorrow. They will not change the rate of fire, but they will be fully auto. Marksman rifles, the G28, the MK20, and the SVD will all be fully auto starting tomorrow. It says updated loot pool. Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. You can target loot now for named items. Very cool. So in Title Update 22, starting tomorrow, a fresh batch of named weapons will be added to the loot pool for missions and mission bosses. So now, if you like a certain mission or you're looking for a certain named weapon, you can actually farm it by whatever mission. So all of these missions will now have a specific named item attached to them. So Camp White Oak, you can get the Pyromaniac, Mechanical Animal, and Kingbreaker. For the Pentagon, you can farm the new Reliable. For the Lefty, you would have to farm DARPA. The White Death will be in Roosevelt Island. Manning National Zoo will also have the White Death. Coney Island, you'll be able to get the Burnout and the Born Great. Tidal Basin will have Dare and Big Show. Coney Island Ballpark will have Tabula Rasa and Carnage. Bank Headquarters will have the Cabaret, the Grown Great, and Swap Chain. Capitol Hill will give you the Safety Distance, Emmeline's Guard, and Cold Relations. Viewpoint Museum will have the Calubre and the Tsunami. District Union Arena will carry the Baker's Dozen and Stage Left. You'll be able to farm the Eckham's Long Stick, Designated Hitter, and Scalpel at Space Administration HQ. The Air and Space Museum will have the Prophet. Jefferson Plaza will hold the Invisible Hand Glory Days and Test Subject. You'll be able to farm the Quiet Roar from Jefferson Trade Center. Federal Emergency Bunker will have the Boomstick, Backup Boomstick, and the Mop. American History Museum will have Surge and Artist Tool. Relic and Commando will be available at Potomac Event Center. And finally, you'll be able to farm the Lightning Rod at Grand Washington Hotel. Other things to note here, general performance enhancements have been implemented to provide a smoother gaming experience on PC. Baklavas now conceal players' ears, allowing for better fitting designs and more realistic appearance. They moved the chest, backpack, gloves, and knee pad appearance mods from the inventory modding system to the apparel menu. The apparel menu is getting a full revamp. They can also be found in by scrolling down the apparel menu and can be dyed by selecting the dye option. Very cool. They updated reoccurring project pools for level 40 players and fixed an exploit, allowing players to earn double scavenging points. Fixed an exploit allowing players to earn double scavenging points. Interesting. Friend referral. They are bringing back the friend referral program. Remember, this was the only way of getting that hunter outfit, the stinger blueprint, and that backpack trophy with the agent watches. But they are coming back with something brand new. So it says the Division 2 Friend Referral Program will launch on October 31st at 9 a.m. and UTC, by the way, featuring new incentives for both veterans and recruits. This time, players can get the Insurgent uniform and Insurgent backpack as exclusive items, and inviting your friends to join you in playing the Division 2 will also unlock great rewards with it. So let's see what these rewards are. It actually just shows it. So outfit, backpack, and then if you're new, you would also get the hunter outfit, the stinger blueprint, and the hunter backpack trophy. Season pass. All right, so season pass. Boop-ba-doop-ba-doo. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Before I even read it to you, I can already see right here. So it says that the season pass will be $10, but there's a premium plus season pass for $30, just so you know. So normal season pass will be $10, and then they will have a brand new premium plus for $30. All right, so there are two different season passes. They said that there's only going to be one season pass. We'll read it right here. Let's see. The optional season pass is available for all Division 2 players starting at level 1. This is priced at $10 or 1,000 premium credits. And in the store, in the game store, and does not require ownership of Wony, so you don't need Wony to do the season pass. It says, additionally, players can opt for the premium option. This will be available for $30 or 3,000 premium credits, which will bundle the premium season pass with multiple rewards offering a greater value. Like Yannick said in the live stream today, they are reducing the number of items for the season pass, and that's probably to get you to go for the premium. Yeah, whatever. It is more money grabs. I will admit, and I'll call a spade. It's a money grab, but we'll see what new exclusive items are going to be in that. Oh, well, here we go. So players with the season pass can gain access to the following premium track items. 10 new gear dyes, 10 new weapon skins, 2 new outfits, and 2 new arm patches. Moreover, players can earn 400 virtual currency. What? 400 virtual currency. Is that 400 premium credits? What's virtual currency? I mean, they say premium credits everywhere else in the game. What is virtual currency? What the hell? Moreover, players can earn 400 virtual currency by progressing through the seasonal pass on the premium track. But that's not all. Free players now can receive cosmetics in the season pass, and the free track includes 1 outfit, 1 weapon skin, and allows every agent to gear up. Okay, so the premium, 10 gears, 10 skins, 2 outfits, 2 patches. For everyone else who will pay nothing, you get 1 outfit and 1 weapon skin. All right, so that's the big difference there. Okay? Next up, we have, ooh, that one's sick with like the spikes on the chin. Nice. This one's a little bit different. I like it. And that's a full skull. That's pretty cool. This is, you guessed it, another money thing. One-time offer. Don't miss out on this exclusive one-time offer available for $20. It includes 2,000 premium credits plus 600 bonus premium credits. And as a cherry on top, you'll get this rare Argery mask. Did I just butcher that? Argery? Uggery? To keep your styles sharp in the chaos of the Dark Zone. Oh, I like how they promoted the Dark Zone there. Nice. That's the brief completed and intel shared for all events and content coming with Year 6 Season 2 Shades of Red. Now it says to go over to the known issues board for all the balancing, okay? So this was all the new stuff for tomorrow. All of the new stuff. So quick overview. We have the new seasonal journey, the new seasonal modifiers, the new priority objectives, the new Manhunt Scouts, the new weapon gears and talents, the new exotics, the new talent reworks, the new friend referral, the new season pass, and the new one-time offer. Woof. All right. Moving to the known issues. I told you this was going to be a long one, but by the end of the video, you will know everything for tomorrow. I promise you. So we have 2 sets of patch notes. We have balancing part 1 and balancing part 2, okay? And then we'll get out of here. So balancing part 1. Let's show more. Beep. Okay. So all of the buffs will be in green. All of the nerfs will be in red. It says here, balancing part 1 with the introduction of Seasons 2.0, which brings new features like Modifier Scouts, Priority Objectives, and Seasonal Journeys. We've taken a fresh approach to balancing, aiming to give different playstyles for more distinct personalities. This update will address a wide range of elements, including various weapon categories, exotic weapons, gears, weapon mods, talents, and gear sets. Woof. All right. Weapons. The core stats section in the inventory preview of every weapon will be updated to now showcase headshot damage and optimal range. So when you pull up your weapon and you see your base damage, your RPM, your mag size, it will now show you your headshot damage and optimal range. The reload stat in the weapon handling section of the inventory preview of the weapon has been updated to show 2 decimals. Very cool. Now here are your balancing. So again, buff in green, nerf in red. Let's see if I can make it bigger. I cannot make it bigger. Oh, come on. Yeah, okay. So the ACR is getting a nerf. The AKM is getting a nerf, but the ACR is getting a reload speed and optimal range buff. Interesting. The AKM variant will get a nerf. The AUG is getting a buff. The Carbine 7 is getting a buff. The F2000 is getting a buff to the damage, but they are nerfing the RPM and magazine size. So the F2000 is getting a huge nerf overall. The FAL is getting a nerf to the damage, but an increased RPM by 50. The FAMAS is getting a buff. Barely, but it's still getting a buff. The G36 is getting a buff to the damage, but nerf to the RPM. The Honey Badger is getting a buff to the damage and RPM, but a decrease in mag size, bro. I see here the AUG got a big increase to magazine size, but a lot of these are nerfs to magazine size. That's such a killer for a weapon. The M4 is getting a overall buff. The PDR is getting an overall buff. The P416 is getting a buff to the rate of fire. Whoa. Does that mean the Eagle Bearer is getting a buff to the rate of fire? And that's a very small nerf to damage. The P416 is going to be big. That's big. The Scar is getting a nerf to the damage, but small increase to the RPM. The SIG is getting a buff to the damage, but a nerf to the RPM. The CTAR is getting an overall buff. Ooh, no, magazine size for the CTAR. Dude, that makes the CTAR not so great now. And then the TKB is getting a buff to the damage, but a nerf to the RPM. Again, that kills the TKB and the Kingbreaker. That sucks. All right, that was your ARs. Let's go to SMGs. So here are your SMG buffs and nerfs. So the AUG is getting a buff, or no, sorry. The AUG is getting a nerf to both the damage and rate of fire. The Banshee is getting a nerf to the damage and rate of fire. The MP5 is getting a damage buff. The MP7 is getting a nerf to the damage and RPM. The MPX is getting a nerf. The P90, wow, is getting bumped up to 1100 RPM, but it is severely getting nerfed in the damage. The PP19 is getting an overall buff. The T821 is getting an overall buff. The SMG9 and variant, both of those are getting nerfed, but increases to their RPM. So that's a big increase to their RPM. Wow. The SMG9 out of nowhere. The M1928 is getting an overall buff. The Tommy gun, however, is getting a nerf, but an increase to RPM. Wow, okay. The UMP is getting a nerf to the damage, but buff to the RPM. The Vector 9mm is getting a buff. However, the Vector 45 and Tactical are both getting nerfs. That is it with SMGs. We are moving on to LMGs. The GR9 is getting an overall buff. The MG5 overall buff. The other MG5 buff. The Stoner buff. Nerfs to the M249, but an increase to the RPM severely. It went from a 550 to an 850. Whoa. The M60 got a nerf to damage, but also got an increased RPM. The other M60, same thing. The Negev got a buff, but a nerf to the RPM. Wow. The Negev. Dude, the Negev started at like 900, then they dropped it to 850, and now they dropped it to 750. The Negev is just constantly changing. The RPK is getting a buff to damage, but oh, dude. Dude, the RPK is getting a nerf to the rate of fire and magazine size. That just killed the RPK meta. And then the L86 is getting an overall nerf. Looking at rifles, it says here that the 1886 and any weapon based on it no longer deals reduced damage to arms and legs. Okay. And here are your nerfs and buffs to rifles. The ACR, overall nerf. 1886, big buff. UIC, big buff. The M16, big buff. The M1A, big buff. Nerfs to the M1A variant. The LM4, or lightweight M4. The LVOAC is getting a slight nerf. The MDR is getting a slight nerf. The MK47 a slight nerf. Remember, these are all fully auto. All those nerfs, those are all fully auto starting tomorrow. The SCAR, a little buff, but nerf to magazine size. The SIG is getting a nerf. The SIG CQB is getting a buff. And then the USC is getting a nerf. Going to marksman rifles, the SR1 is getting a nerf. The G28, a buff to the damage, but nerf to the RPM dramatically. And that will also be fully auto starting tomorrow, so that sucks that they mess with the RPM like that. The M700 is getting a nerf. The Model 700 is getting a nerf. The M44 is getting a buff, and same with the other M44. All of the M44s are getting a buff. The MK20 is getting a buff. The SRS, the SVD, and the 308 all nerfs. And all of those will be fully auto that are getting those nerfs. Next up, after marksman rifles, we have shotguns. So nerfs and buffs to shotguns. The double barrel, buff. Same with the sawed-off. The SASG and the Super 90 are both getting nerfed. The SPAs and the ACS are both getting buffs. The 612 is getting a nerf, while the KSG and M870 are both getting buffs. Nice. Very nice. That M870 buff. The SPA's 12. Yeah, the SPA's 12 and the M870 are going to be the two sought-afters. All right, and then finally for the weapons, we have the pistols. Everything is getting a buff. You see that? Everything is getting a buff except for the D50. The D50 is getting nerfed, but an increase to RPM. And then the 93R is getting a buff, but then severely nerfing their RPM. Wow. 1100 to 700, that's killer. Going to the weapon mods, those are all buffs. All of these weapon mods are buffs. All of these weapon mods are buffs. I don't even have to go through these. They're all buffs. Right here. Oh, nope, that's still a buff. I mean, I see it's a negative 20% accuracy. Oh, it's a higher nerf. Oh, okay, I see. Same with this one. Way higher buff. Slightly higher nerf. Very nice. Okay. And those were just weapon mods. Those were just all weapon mods. Majority of them are all getting buffs. Now looking at, gear talents are changing. Entrench and Perfect Entrench will now be, cooldown. It will now be every 2 seconds and 1 second for Perfect. And it will have the same damage, okay? Gunslinger is getting a buff from 20% to 23%, so that's big for the weapon swapping meta. Kinetic Momentum is getting a buff from 1% per stack to 1.5%, which is huge. So Kinetic Momentum is going to be very nice. Obliterate is getting nerfed 25 stacks to 20. Overwatch is getting a buff by, 2%? Okay. Spark is getting a buff by 3%. Safeguard is getting a 30% skill repair buff. So Safeguard is going to be huge. For the gear attributes, the Hollow Man is getting a buff to its health damage. The Motherly Love is getting a buff to the skill health. The Firm Hand... Why? Why is the Firm Handshake going from 15 to 16? Does that really matter? Debatable. Claws Out is only going up by 2% for the pistol damage. Okay. And then finally, the Picaro's Holster is getting a nerf to the weapon damage. Weapon talents that are changing. Perfectly Accurate on the Rail Splitter is getting buffed. Perfect Allegro on the Invisible Hand is getting buffed. Bread Basket is getting buffed. Eyeless buffed. The Fast Hands is getting nerfed. Killer and Perfect Killer is getting a huge buff. So the Dark Winter is going to be huge. Ignited and Perfect Ignited are getting buffed, which makes the Pyromaniac even better. Optimist is getting a small buff. Perfectly Optimized, 10% buff. Perpetuation, 25% buff. Ranger is getting slightly a buff. I mean, it's 2% for every 4 instead of for every 5. Okay. Reformation is getting it's doubled. Wow. Reformation and Perfect Reformation is getting doubled. Sadist is getting buffed by 10%. Thunderstrike is getting buffed by 10%. Vindictive is getting buffed by what? 3%? Interesting. Measured is getting buffed by quite a bit. On Empty, Outsider, Behind You, Brazen, all of these are getting buffed. Brazen and Perfect Brazen getting buffed is crazy, but whatever. Perfect Jazz Hands getting buffed, and Pumped Up is getting buffed. And that was all of your balancing part 1. That was just the weapons. Ugh. All right, let's go into part 2. I know this is a long one, but this is all the information and everything going down tomorrow. Tomorrow is a huge update. And here are your balancing part 2. Again, the buffs will be in green. The nerfs will be in red. Starting with Hardwired is getting buffed. They are cutting the cooldown in half. So the Hardwired is going to be really, really good. But these changes will not affect PvP, though. So you're not going to be able to do that in PvP. But in PvE, Hardwired is going to be a huge meta. Aegis is getting a buff, even though people don't use it. Heartbreaker is getting a buff. It's going to go from 1% damage per stack to 1.1%. Aces and Eights will now include rifles, so that's their buff. The Breaking Point backpack talent is getting buffed. The Negotiator's Dilemma backpack talent is getting a buff. The Amplified Damage on Ongoing Directive is getting a buff, but not for PvP. Striker is getting a 10% buff, or a nerf, my bad. So instead of 1 stack, or 1% per stack, it will be 0.9% per stack. However, Umbra is getting buffed, but not for PvP, which is crazy, but whatever. But it is getting buffed. So Umbra is going to be nice. Next up, we have brand set changes. Here we go. Again, red is going to be the nerfs, and green is going to be the buffs. Alp Summit is getting a nerf to repair skills, while China Light is getting a buff to status effects. Empress is getting a nerf to skill efficiency. Murakami is getting a nerf to the skill duration and skill damage, but a buff to the repair skills. Incoming repairs will be nerfed on Richter and Kaiser. Wyvern Wear will be nerfed for skill damage, but buffed for status and skill duration. 511 is getting buffed for incoming repairs and hazard. Bellstone Armory is getting buffed for incoming repairs. And Hana Yu is getting a weapon damage buff. Next up for the gear sets. Again, red is nerf, green is buff. The Habsburg Guard is getting a nerf to headshot damage, but buff to status effects. Lingmo is getting a nerf to skill health. Yuzina is getting a buff to hazard. Yalgear is getting a buff to weapon damage. Araldi is getting a nerf to headshot damage. What is that? Cheska is getting a nerf to crit chance, but a buff to hazard, which is good. Grupo is getting a nerf to both crit damage and headshot. Providence is getting a nerf all the way down. And Sokolov Concern is getting a nerf for the crits. Now that was it for the brand set bonuses. For the exotic changes, Bighorn is getting a big buff. The Bighorn is getting a big buff. Big buff. So if you don't have the Bighorn, you need to go get the Bighorn. St. Elmo's is just getting a nerf to weapon handling. Nothing crazy. The Eagle Bearer is getting a buff overall, so that's good. Oh, St. Elmo's is getting a nerf to all of its mods. My bad. The Eagle Bearer is getting a buff to all of its mods. Chameleon is getting a buff. Lady Death is getting a buff. Backfire is getting a huge buff. Huge buff. It went from stacking 1 at a time to 200 to 2 at a time to 100. It's huge. Huge buff. The Chatterbox is getting a nice little buff, 5%. Iron Lung is getting its mods buffed, but that's it. The Blue Screen, overall buff. The Bullet King, overall buff. Let's see here. Mod improvements for the Merciless and Ruthless. Huge 20% buff for the Vindicator. It went from 40 to 60%. The Scorpio, womp womp. They added 1 to the first 2, and then they added 2 to the last one. So it's 2 hits to poison, 4 to disorient, 6 to shock, and 9 for the additional damage. It used to be 1, 3, 6, 7, and now it's 2, 4, 6, 9. Next up, we have exotic weapons. Here are your exotic weapon changes. So the Bighorn is still getting a buff, not only to the talent, but also to the base damage, and it's getting a buff to the magazine size. The Bighorn is going to be huge. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be huge. Strega is getting a nerf to the base damage, but increase to rate of fire, just like the FAL. The St. Elmo's engine is getting a overall buff. The capacitor is getting a buff. The Eagle Bearer is getting a buff to the RPM, but a overall nerf to the damage. The Chameleon is getting a buff. Lady Death, nerf to the damage. Same with the Backfire. The Chatterbox is getting a big RPM buff, but slightly nerfed on the damage. The Ouroboros, nerf to the damage and nerf to the RPM. That's bad for the Ouroboros. The Ruthless Merciless, overall buff. The Vindictive is getting a nerf. The Diamondback is getting a big buff. The Sacrum Imperium is getting a buff to the damage, but nerf severely to the rate of fire. The Mantis is getting a nerf, while the Dread Edict is getting a nerf. And then finally, the Lullaby and Sweet Dreams is getting a buff. Our next set of exotics. Iron Lung is getting a nerf. The Blue Screen is getting a buff to damage, barely, and then a huge nerf to RPM, and then doubling the mag size. The Blue Screen's going to be really different. The Pestilence, however, is going to get a damage buff and RPM buff and reload speed buff. So the Pestilence is going to be better now than ever. The Bullet King buffed to damage but nerfed to RPM severely. Yeesh. The Scorpio is getting a nerf to its damage. The Overlord is getting a buff. The Liberty is getting a nerf to damage but increase in RPM. And then finally, the Mosquito is getting a buff to damage. Okay. Going down to exotic gear changes, and it's only one for the Catharsis. The Catharsis is getting a big buff tomorrow. It is going from 1 stack of weapon damage per, or 1% of weapon damage per stack to 1.5. So that's a big increase for the Catharsis. That goes from 30% weapon damage total to 45. So that's going to be nice. The Catharsis is going to be a nice meta. And that, my dear friends, concludes everything to look forward to in tomorrow's update. Title Update 22 and the start of Year 6, Season 2, Shades of Red. All of this information and more can be found on my Twitter page, X if you nasty. So follow me over here at Kamikazevondoom for all of this information and more before I make a YouTube video. Again, shout out to all of the winners in today's giveaway, and subscribe. That way you can catch the next giveaway. I'm Kamikazevondoom. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.